Rabbi.
Yes. Sorry about that. Hi there. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I've been having some internet connectivity issues. So if there's a problem, please wave wildly, and hopefully that will bring me up to speed and let me know that there's an issue going on, and hopefully we'll be able to deal with it from there. So we find ourselves very excitedly at the beginning of chapter 27. Now to do a recap, at the end of chapter 26, so Shaul again is running all over the country looking for David in crags and crannies and holes and you name it, in caves, and he's looking all over for him. And David actually goes and crawls into Shaul's war camp, into his tent in the middle of the night, and steals his favorite teddy bear and his onesie pajamas. Meaning clearly he took something, the lance and the bottle, the water of Shaul, which had to have been under his bed literally, which showed that had David wanted to, he could have killed him. But what's so different about this time is that after he in fact does that, he goes over from a distant hilltop, so as to not be, within bow range, and he calls out not to Shaul, like the last time that he did that when he got him in the cave, but rather he calls out to Avner. He calls out to Shaul's advisors. He calls out to Shaul's general. Why? And we're told in the Gemara, and I mean also it's clear from the Ksuvim, that Avner was a tremendous tzaddik. Why is he calling to Avner? The Gemara in Sanhedrin explains that Avner bears a little bit of responsibility for the fact that Shaul kept insanely running after David. So he excuse me for one moment, please. So sorry, I'm still not good with this Zoom thing, even after all this time. He bears responsibility for the fact that Shaul kept running after David. He should have said to him, "Listen, Shaul, this isn't the way. This is not what we're supposed to be doing." And therefore, he calls out to him. But you say to yourself, as you read these chapters, like, how many times are you going to tell me that Shaul tries to run after David, and then David shows him that he was never a traitor? How many times? What's different this time? Because you'll notice at the end of last chapter that David says to Shaul and to all the people, "You're forcing me to do this. I'm about to do something very, very drastic, and you're forcing this. What's to come is your fault. And you don't know yet what that is. But clearly it's been in the works for a while." Why does he keep trying the same thing? And I would say the answer is as follows. After, you see, he grabs the lance and he grabs the water, and Shaul sees clearly that he didn't mean to kill him and could have all the time if he wanted to. And Shaul feels terrible, and he apologizes to David again and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Is that you, my son David? Come home, come home, come home. Everything's right, and I've been wrong, and I've wronged you." And David doesn't even respond. Instead, he just sends the lance back. He goes, "Send up a squire, so that we can send back your weapons." Well, why doesn't he respond? What's different this time? Why this time is he going to run away? I think because Shaul responded in the wrong way. When David stole Shaul's lance and Shaul's water bottle, what Shaul should have said when he responded with an apology is not, "I've wronged you." It's not, "I've wronged you." It's that, "David, you're right. I see you're supposed to be king and we're partners. You're going to be king when I die. It's not going to go to my son, Yehonatan. It's going to go to you. And therefore, you are my heir apparent." But that's not what he says. He apologizes to him on a personal level. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've wronged you." Wronged me? This isn't about me. This isn't about you. This is about Malchut Yisrael. So when Shaul repeats the pattern of, "I'm so sorry, now I see the light," that's a personal issue. And in fact, we all know that Shaul is yet again going to have an episode of his insanity. We know that that's going to happen. And therefore, this time is different. He should have known better. He should have gone one step forward as he did the previous time, but he doesn't. So now what is it? What is it that David is setting up when he says, "You guys have forced me to do what it is that I'm about to do"? What is he talking about? So we're going to begin. Let me just share my screen with you. All right. Okay. So, Vayomer David Elibo. And David said to himself, now it doesn't mean he said to himself at that time. It means he had been saying to himself, You know, at some point, I'm going to get caught by Shaul. At some point, he's going to catch up with me. The only way that I can ever have a moment's peace, and I mean the only way, is if I leave the country. The thing is, you understand, when you talk about leaving the country, it doesn't mean while you're leaving the United States of America and you're going to Canada or Mexico. It means you're leaving the land of Israel and you're going to a pagan land. He's going to go to Plishtiville. And he says, if I go to Philistia, if I go to Plishtiville, Vino Ashmi Meni Shaul will give up on me. Shaul will give up on me, Levaksheni Od B'chol Gevul Yisrael. He will give up on me from finding me in the boundaries of Israel. V'nimlatati miyado, and I'll be saved from his hand. But I don't understand, why won't Shaul just look for you there? And what do you mean he'll give up looking for me? Why wouldn't you say I'll leave Israel and he'll stop caring because I've left Israel? The word noash is the word yi'ush, which literally means to give up. Like the Gemara talks about it all the time when a person loses his wallet and is like, well, when can you be koned if you find a wallet in a flea market? And the answer is, well, there has to be yi'ush, habailim. The owner has to give up on it. The owner gives up hope of ever finding it. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't want to find it. It just means he gives up because he knows he can't. David knows that Shaul will never stop wanting to kill him. He can't bear it. He can't bear it. He knows that he won't have a dynasty. It kills him. So he'll never get over that. And therefore, the most he can hope for is for him to give up from finding him. Well, why would he give up? Because he's going to go to Plishtiville. And Shaul has no authority in Plishtiville. But one second, why would they take him in Plishtiville with open arms? So watch this political move, man. This is some crazy stuff. Vayakam David vayavor. And David got up and went over. Vayavor, he went over. That's usually if you cross a river, it's Aver Hayardin, Vayavor Esma Avar Yabok. It means to cross over, literally. David crossed over to the other side. Hu v'sheish meos ish asher imo. He and the 600 men who were with him. El Achish ben Ma'och melech Gat. Yes, it's true. He went over to Plishtim, but he didn't go the last time that he went. The last time that he went as a fugitive, running away from the CIA, the FBI, and the KGB. Everybody was running after him, and he went to the Plishtim, thinking that maybe he can claim refuge and asylum because he, after all, did kill their champion. This time, it's a political treaty. The king of Gat welcomes David in not as a fugitive, but as a warlord. As a local strong man with a 600-man army, who, by the way, has decimated the Plishti army on several occasions. Now, you may ask yourself, I don't understand, why would they trust him? And of course, anyone who knows a little bit about history knows that it's not about what happened yesterday. What have you done for me lately, and what can you do for me tomorrow? We know, David, that you have fallen out with your former master, the king of Israel, named Saul. I happen to know that he wants to kill you because he knows you're going to be king. Well, I'm going to make a deal with you. Up until that time that you're king, you work for me. At that point, then you can take what's rightfully yours and we'll live side by side. It's a treaty. Now, if you think that David would lie about a treaty, well, we'll see very soon that I don't think that that's possible. So, Vayeshiv David im Achish begat, and David lived with Achish in Gat, in the capital city. Huva anashav, ishu veito. He and his men, each man in his house. David ushte nashav, Achinoam ha'Israelit v'Abigail ish Naval Carmelite. He and his two wives, Achinoam the Israelite, not Israelite as an Israelite, but Yisraelite, and Abigail the wife of Naval Carmelite. Well, you just said he and his 600 men went over to the side of God, so I already know that. I know that you're living there. What do you mean? He and his men, the men and the wives, David and his two wives. It's saying that this wasn't merely a military treaty. This is a serious political move. David is moving under the auspices of Gat, of Achish, king of Gat, until he takes the throne of Judea. This is massive. And I'll prove this to you. So it goes out of its way to stress that they came there with their families. They're moving in for the long term. It's not just that we're having a military thing right now. We're moving in. Now, Vayugad l'Shaul, and it was told to Shaul, Ki barach David Gat, and Shaul was told, he got military intelligence from Interpol, that David had run away, had fled to Gat, and he no longer tried to find him. Why? Because he knows he can't. He's untouchable there. Remember, As we recall, the Plishtim were only afraid of the Jews because of the wizard Dumbledore, because of Shmuel Hanavi. The second Shmuel died, we know the Plishtim are coming back. Vayomer David el Achish. So now David says to Achish, we've been planning this for some time. Everything's good. I'm living here. If I find favor in your eyes, I mean, if you like me, if you think we're getting along quite well, it's like Sansa Stark in The Reach. You know, she's from a noble family, they're from a noble family. Sometimes they fight, sometimes they get along. If I find favor in your eyes, give me a place in a city of fields, meaning nothing that's going to, crimp your style. Nothing that's going to make the Plishtim upset that I'm getting too much. You don't give me Park Avenue. Don't give me Beverly Hills. Give me Overtown. Veishvasham. And let me sit there. Let me have my own little place. But why should I sit in the capital city with you? I'm my own guy. I have 600 men here. I'm going to be a future king and ally of yours. Like, why should we do it this way? Why should we do it this way? How about you give me a little place of my own? I'll do my thing, you'll do your thing. And of course, I'm a vassal to you until such a time that I take my crown. Listen to the pasuk. This pasuk Vav puts it all together. Vayiten lo Achish bayamahu es Tsiklag. And Achish gave him the city of Tsiklag. Therefore, the city of Tsiklag was for the kings of Yehuda until today. First of all, what are you talking about, the kings of Yehuda until today? At the time that the Navi is talking right now, there are no kings of Yehuda. What do you mean? It was given to the kings of Yehuda until today. The answer is, Achish granted Tsiklag to David through the lens of Davidic monarchy. He says, I know you're going to be the progenitor of the dynasty of Yehuda. We both know that. Everybody knows that. I am a good fan and friend of yours. We're allies. I'm giving this to you, to the Malchei Yehuda forever. That was the way that the deal was made. I'm going to give you and your line this city, going forward to the Malchei Yehuda Arayom Hazeh. The simple way of understanding this is that David was in the fields of the Plishtim for 2 years and 4 months. Vayal David. Now, meanwhile, what does David do? So this is beautiful. David has his own little area. David has sworn fealty to the king of Gat, who's offering him protection from Shaul, so he doesn't have to fight a civil war against the Jews and kill them, because he'll eventually be their allies, their king, in fact. Well, but who are his neighbors? So, Vayal David v'anashav. David and his men go up. Vayivshetu el hageshuri, v'hagizri, v'ha'amaleki, and they start raiding all of the nearby towns. That entire area, they venture out and they raid. And they hit the Geshuri, the Gizri, and the Amaleki. Because these people had lived there forever, from Shur all the way down to Egypt. Why are you talking to me about Bo'acha Shura and Eretz Mitzrayim? What are you talking to me about that for? Tell me something. And what was going on perhaps in the land of the Zulus? And how pray tell are the Iranians doing? Like, why are you telling me this? We're talking about the developing monarchy of Israel. The developing monarchy of Israel. David understands that means he is now being Kona the land. He's acquiring the land. He sees his existence in Siklag as the burgeoning Malchus Yehuda. So what does he immediately do? He starts ridding Canaan of the previous inhabitants. The pasuk stresses Bo'acha Shura v'ad Eretz Mitzrayim. Do you know when we find Bo'acha Shura and Eretz Mitzrayim in the Torah? I'll give you a hint. It's not in Bamidbar, and it's not in Vayikra, and it's not in Shemos. The first time we find it is in the Sefer Bereshis and Parshas Noach, when it's talking about the people that pushed into the Canaanim, who pushed into the land of Israel. Bo'acha Sodoma v'Amorah v'ad Moed Tzvoyim ad Losha was supposed to be the land of shame. And Canaan pushed into it. They had been doing that since the days of yore, all the way down to Egypt. And now David is about to set that record straight. But here's the thing. Achish, king of God, has nothing to do with those tribes. They're not in the kingdom of God. They're outside of his kingdom. But how does he feel about David running around and killing all of the local tribes and local bands and inhabitants when he supposedly sworn fealty to the Plishtim? Well, the Hikad David es haaretz. David hit the land hard. Velo yechaya ish v'isha. He wouldn't leave anyone, man or woman, to tell the tale. V'lakach tzonu v'kar v'chamorim ugmalim uggadim. And he took all of the sheep and the camel and the chamorim and the donkeys and the camels and the clothing, right? All the money. And he brought it back to his patron Achish. Now, I called this episode Letters of Mark because when I was a kid, my grandparents had a very robust black and white movie collection from like back in the day. And I loved Errol Flynn movies. And there was this great movie called The Seahawk. And it taught me a little bit about, silly British history. I say silly because it's not real history. It's a movie. It's American, 1950s, whatever, movie about Britain. But the point is, under Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I essentially sanctioned, legalized pirates. She had British people, since we're at war with the other country anyway, go harass their shipping. And if there happens to be a French merchant ship with all sorts of good money or a Spanish merchant ship, take the money, come back, give it to the crown, and I'll give you money too. Legalized piracy. David went around destroying all of the local peoples. Why? Because he's cleansing the land of the people who have been there for eons. It's the land of Yehuda. But as far as Achish is concerned, he's sending out raiding parties and giving me money. This is my guy. He's my ally. He's my vassal. Eventually, he will be an equal, but for right now, he's not. He has 600 men, and he's going and bringing me money. It's wonderful. But how do you think Achish would feel if he knew that the reason that David was doing this was not because of money, but that what was motivating him was, in fact, the future kingdom of Judea? He wouldn't have seen it the same way. So, Vayomer Achish. Achish said to him, right, David shows up with wagon loads of booty. So Achish says, Al pashatetem hayom, where did you spread out today? Where did you get all this stuff? Did you attack French merchant vessels and Spanish merchant vessels? Or are you really attacking the Portuguese or perhaps some of our allies? So, Vayomer David, Al Negev Yehuda, Al Negev Hayachrim. Oh my gosh, Hayarchme Eli, Ve'al Negev Hakeni. Oh, I kept myself to the areas of the Negev of Judah and the Negev of Yarchme Eli and the Keni. These are all Judean areas, which means to Achish, what Achish is hearing is, oh my gosh, not only has he pledged to not fight against me with the Israelites, but in fact, he's attacking them. That's what Achish is thinking. Now, did David lie? Not even the slightest bit. This area is the area of Yehuda and Keni and Yarchme Eli. But that's not what Achish is going to hear. What Achish is going to hear is, wow, he's attacking Jews. What David is saying is, oh yeah, I'm whacking all the people that are in these areas. Here's some money. He's wonderful. He's happy. But it's not the context that he thinks David is really doing this in. Now, the reason that I think that David can't break a treaty, we find in the Torah that Moshe mistakenly perhaps made a treaty, and so did Yehoshua. And in fact, we'll see later on, even with David and Shmuel Beis, that it comes at the cost of Jewish people that we made these treaties. It was terrible that we made these treaties, and Hashem gets upset that we made the treaties, but we can't back out of them. You can't back out of a treaty. Yaakov can't back out with Lavan. Shimshon takes the Plishtim to task for this. Like we find over and over again, you can't back out of a treaty. You absolutely have to abide by it. So David, as far as we're concerned, is not going to lift a finger against Achish, king of Gat, until such a time that the crown of the United Kingdom of Israel rests on his head. That's the truth. However, what David's ultimate goals are, and what Achish sees the board to be, not the same thing. Achish is looking at it from a money perspective, and David is looking at it from a future perspective. That's the idea. Now, so you see, I think, a double language in what Achish says when he says, Al pishatetem, which means, well, where did you stretch forth? But al doesn't mean only where, it means don't, which means there's a hesitation in the language of Achish, when he sees David coming in with all this money, the first thing that he's thinking is, oh my God, this is great. Look how much money. I have a new revenue stream. I have a local satrap who's bringing me in $1 billion a year. It's a big producer in the mafia. On the other hand, he's also thinking, 1 second, is this guy going to try to put me down at some point? So, and David never left any survivors. So at no point could anyone come back and switch the context of Achish. Lest anyone get back to Gat and tell him that in fact, this is what David has been doing all the days that he was there living with the Plishtim. Why are you saying that? Just say this is what David is doing. What do you mean that he's been doing all the days that he lives with the Plishtim? I think the idea is that if you look at the areas that David has been attacking, you could look at it one way and say, how much money have we brought in? That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is how much territory, how much real estate are we now controlling? A third way of looking at it is, what do all these areas have in common? What do all these areas have in common, and what does that have to do with David's ultimate plans in a decade? If that type of information would have landed on Achish's desk, he would have seen it through a very different lens and a very different context. He would not have liked it. So now listen to the last pasuk in this very short parak, pasuk Yud Beis 12, because I think it's interesting and it shows you just how the mechanics work. Vaya'amein Achish b'David lemor, and Achish trusted in David, saying, Hav eshiv ish ba'amo b'Yisrael. David is sick and tired of his nation Israel. V'hayali le'eved olam, and he's going to be a servant for me forever. Now, the first time I read this, I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, David is such a shyster. What a liar, what a cheat, what a traitor. But read it again, read it carefully. Vaya'amein Achish b'David lemor, not and Achish trusted David, and Achish trusted in David saying to himself, he trusted in him saying, Havei shivish ba'amo b'Yisrael. He saw the board and told himself a story. The story was not just what David said, that he would be my ally until Shaul dies and he can go back, because we agree that he's going to be the king of Judea. Not just that, I see from his actions that he's sick of those people and he's eventually going to stay with me. I think I can get him to the side of the Lannisters and wheel them away from the Targaryens. I know that he told me that eventually he's going to go back. I don't think it's going to happen. He trusted in David and had faith that David was sick of his own people, not understanding that anything but. The reason that David left was only so he wouldn't be forced to fight against his own people. That's why he left. This was the only reason that David did this political maneuver. It's despicable to him to have to leave. That's what he says to Shaul in the last chapter. He says, it's your fault that I'm doing this. It's your fault that I have to go and live with those people. But I'm going to have to, because I'd rather make a treaty with Gat and stick to it than live in Israel, live in the land of Eretz Yisrael and have to run away from you and possibly cross swords with Avner ben Ner. That's what I would rather do. And that's what, in fact, David does. And we're going to see that was, of course, the catalyst for the, how shall we say it? I'll say something nice. For the dominoes to fall. Because now that David is out of the way, things can come to a head. As long as David was in the land of Israel, the Plishtim, it's not going to be a real war, because David keeps punching the Plishtim in the face. If you take David off the board, if you take David and his men off the board, when's the last time that Shaul had a war against the Plishtim by himself? The answer is the standoff in the valley of Elah with Goliath, when the Jews were shaking in their boots. That's the last time. It's not a good thing. Shmuel's gone, David's gone, the Plishtim are going to come. So, hope you enjoyed today. Tonight at 7:30, Be'ezras Hashem, I'm going to be speaking on the Parsha at the Lighthouse. It's going to be very, very interesting. I might say some things that I'll have to apologize for in the future, but it'll be cool. You should chime in. Same time, same place, different channel. The channel's the Lighthouse channel. It's going to be posted on my Facebook. Much peace and love.